Okay, so in this video we're going to be looking at the quadratic formula. It's a very famous formula in mathematics, and essentially if you're given any quadratic equation where you have the coefficients a, b and c, you can just plug those into this formula and you'll get the solutions. Now this is probably something you should memorize. So this basically says that the solutions are x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So the plus or minus, this tells you that there are two solutions, both the plus version and the negative version. So let's go through some examples of how to use this formula. So let's look at the quadratic equation 4x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals to 0. And the first step you want to do is write out what the a, b and c are, what these coefficients are. So in this case we have a equals to 4, that's the first coefficient, the x squared coefficient. We have b equal to minus 7, that's the x coefficient, and then c is just a constant, this is minus 2. So now this is nice and visible and we want to plug this into the formula straight away. So if we plug it in, we're going to get the solutions. X equals minus b, so we have minus 7, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so this is minus 7 squared, minus 4 times a, so minus 4 times 4, times c, so times minus 2. And then we close the square root, and we have to divide by 2 times a, which is 4. So now we just want to simplify this expression, and we find the solutions. So minus 7, that is just plus 7. We still have the plus or minus. The square root, we get minus 7 squared is 49. Running out of space. Minus 4 times 4 times minus 2, so that minus is going to come out to the front, and that's going to cancel with this minus, so this turns into a plus. And then we have 4 times 4 times 2, which is 16 times 2, and that's just 32. And then we still have 2 divided by 8. So I'm running out of space, so I'm just going to free up some space up here. So this is what x equals, and we're going to go up here and carry on. So we have 7 plus or minus the square root, 49 plus 32. So what is this? 49 plus 32, we have 9 plus 2, which is 11. 40 plus 30, that's 70. So 70 plus 11, that's 81. And you can double check this calculation, but this is going to give us the square root of 81. And we still want to divide by 8. Now 81 is a square number, this is 9 squared. So that's going to simplify to 7 plus or minus 9 over 8. So these are the two solutions. We can actually split them apart and see what we're going to get. So if we take the plus version, this is going to be 7 plus 9, which is 16, divided by 8. That's just 2. So that's our first solution. And if we look at the negative version, this gives us the second solution, which is 7 minus 9. So I'll just write this down as minus 2 over 8, which is minus 1 over 4. So this is the first solution, this is the second solution, 2 and minus a quarter, and these are both the solutions to this quadratic equation. And we found them just by using the quadratic formula. Okay, I want to do one final example. We're going to do x squared plus x plus 2 equals to 0. Now what this example is going to show us is that this equation might not always give us real solutions. So usually it will give us two solutions, but there's some cases where if this number under the square root is negative, we can't really take the square root of a negative, so we're just going to get no solutions. And then if it's equal to 0, then we have the square root of 0, which is 0, and then we just get one solution. So this number under the square root is really important. It actually has a name, so this is called the discriminant, and it essentially discriminates between if you have real solutions or how many solutions you have. So I'm just going to show you what, if we plug in these values into the equation, what we're going to get. So first step is to decompose what the coefficients are. So we have a is equal to 1. This is the x squared coefficient. We have b equal to 1 as well. that's the x coefficient, and then c is equal to 2. So now let's go ahead and plug these numbers into the formula. This is going to give us x is equal to minus b, that's minus 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's 1 squared, minus 4, times a, which is 1, times c, that's 2. So we close the square root, and we divide by 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. But now we have a problem, because if we look this number under the square root, I'll just write out what it is. We have 1 minus 4 times 1 times 2. This is 1 minus 8, which is minus 7. So this is a problem because we're taking the square root of a negative number. And in the real world, we can't really do that. You can go on to study complex numbers, and that will give you another way of tackling this. But if we're looking for real solutions, then we can't take the square root of a negative number. So this gives us no real solutions. And this is just the solution of this quadratic equation. There's no real solutions. So it's important, right? No real solutions. There are something what are called complex solutions, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. We're just going to write there's no real solutions. So this is just to point out that sometimes, depending on the values of a, b, and c, this equation will give us 2 real solutions. It might give us 1 real solution, and it might not give us any real solutions.